Hello, hello, hello. Before I get into anything, I just want to greetings. I was at the store and couldn't get what I wanted, so I was looking around. Made with cane sugar. It tastes different, to say the least. So there's that. I'm gonna get water. Yes, that most definitely tastes different. From standard for America high fructose corn syrup soda. Uh, it's a different experience. So I went in to watch Could We Be About to Get Wealth Taxes in the UK? And he was just he started off talking about stuff, and he's like Prime Minister this and blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, oh, this person, he would have to get elected MP, and then he could be, and then he would be eligible to be the Prime Minister. And I'm just thinking, like, oh, okay, this shows my complete ignorance, basically, about how the UK government like is structured and works and everything. So then I'm just like, all right, let me get a basic rundown of the UK government stuff, because I've heard some terms, but I need to figure this out. And then I go on and I watch some videos, and I'm like, okay, so they elect MPs, which, take your pick. They're like senators, congressmen, people to the House of Representatives, people to the Senate. It's more like representatives, though. Um, and then basically the political party with the most people, that's most representative, they choose a guy, and he's the prime minister. Now, the prime minister does a whole bunch of things, but the prime minister is more or less like the president. Doesn't doesn't necessarily have all the executive branch powers of the president, especially not Trump. Yikes. But more or less. And then I was like, after watching that video, I was just like, I've heard of this thing called the House of Lords. What's that about? And so I watch a video, and then I'm just like, okay, so the House of Lords is like kind of an advisory thing or whatever, and whatever. The long and short of it is the UK seems to have something interesting going on there that I think it's about time the US adopts something like that too, because the US is lacking a big thing in its formalized federal, maybe even state system of governance, which is uh, a kind of direct, explicit check on not having experts right in there look over crap that's going to be passed into law. And we've seen this time and time again, especially more and more now, where senators and representatives are like, I don't have the time to like go through legislation, craft legislation, basically. They will say this, not really to the public, but they'll say this to like reporters and stuff. Like, between campaigning and all the other crap that they do, it's just like, I don't really have the time to, if I want to make a law on something, regulating some kind of something, I don't really have the time to learn everything necessary, to look into all the things that are necessary for it. And cover all the angles necessary for it to really make an informed decision about everything that I need to really do. And so I kind of offload all of that to someone, and it usually gets offloaded to the worst place possible, which is pharma, the oil industry, whatever, because it's usually like, it's like, banking industry. It just usually gets offloaded to the fox who wants to get into the henhouse metaphor. That's what it usually gets done. And so it would be nice if we had like a place where upon someone was given that piece of legislation and he could be like, all right, I'll take this and I'll send it off to my independent body, independent place where we know they are this collected body of, it's not the Heritage Foundation, which is right wing, and it's not this, but it's this group of whatever. Whatever we call it, I don't know, we wouldn't call it the House of Lords, obviously, but the collection of experts, something like that. Or you'd have, a bunch of different kinds of scientists, engineers, lawyers, doctors of all kinds. A bunch of people, experts in a whole bunch of different fields where you could say this legislation is dealing with this, and all these people could go and look on it and could say, this is bogus. They're basically trying to make a piece of legislation that totally favors, it's a bank. It's a bank. It's a big bank. They're trying to bullshit you into, you know, creating monopoly for them. That's all they're doing. But here's the revised piece, which will pretty much be fair across the entire financial industry. This is a good one. This should pretty much do it, or at least it's better. It's better. It's not perfect. And this is something where you can put it out into maybe the greater world for a third revision attempt. Something like that. Now, I realize there are independent agents. There are independent, not agencies, not firms, independent groups that already do this. But usually groups do this after the law has been passed. So that's helpful. Or they do it like when the law is in process of being passed, and it's just like, you know, they don't get to look at the thing when it's like right in the beginning process. And having this chamber would be that initial speed bump where a senator or a representative could then, you know, run that thing through an initial paper shredder and be like, oh yeah, you know, I could say as a senator or representative, be like, all right, I'll take a look at it, and you don't have to take a look at it. You could just give it to them and be like, take a look at it. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Take a look at this. I don't know what I'm doing. My staff doesn't know what they're doing, really. Maybe someone on your staff does, but boom. And it could be, you know, because they said the House of Lords is like 800 people, so we could have a whole group of those people. And, you know, maybe partially they're elected. Maybe they're elected by they're elected through all tenured professors in all the universities in the United States. So when you get tenureship at a university in the United States, you get a vote in that process of choosing someone to go into one of those positions, maybe for 5 years or something like that. Yeah, this is just to start the conversation kind of on something like that. You know, we need in this modern era, we need experts. We need something to have another kind of we need another level of representation. That we need representation for every person in the country. Yes, that's true, of course, but We need some way to push back against the little guy getting screwed over by, you know, corporations steamrolling garbage quickly into our lives before we can do anything about it. And they do that through mechanisms like what I just said, because they have all this accrued money and power, and this constant like, oh, we just need to vote better people in to the existing system, I believe is a failed. It's just a bad way of looking at it. The system needs to be reworked, and so there you go. Something else. There's another way. There's something else to do. You know, if modern society requires experts, then the governmental system requires experts. And if we as Americans refuse to elect experts to represent us, then we need to put a branch of government that explicitly requires experts. No common Joe on there. This branch of government explicitly requires you to be some kind of expert. You need to know what you're doing in order to get into this club. And you can't be rich, you can't be just popular. You have to have knowledge, expertise, probably be brilliant too, and hopefully less corruptible. Yeah. And we can combine that with kind of unfucking the other branches of the government, the House, Senate, Judiciary, Executive. I think that would be great. I'm all for adding something else onto the government. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of piling more bureaucracy onto it, but bureaucracy is not really the problem. Bureaucracy does not have to mean slower government or more inefficient government either. Let me be completely clear about that. You can have layers and layers of bureaucracy and stuff can move very quickly, very efficiently. All right. An example is, when they want stuff done for billion-dollar corporations. It's surprisingly quick. The bureaucracy moves like lightning, and billion-dollar corporations want stuff done. When we want stuff done for the benefit of poor people, all of a sudden, bureaucracy this, bureaucracy that, you know. Yeah, so, it's a matter of you just gotta dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge all the bullshit. All the bullshit, and not vote Republican. I'm going to get that in there yet again. Oh my God, it is freaking humid. It says 69%, but it feels like plus this shirt right here, this is one of my shirts that is just like, oh, really? Am I wearing a freaking scuba diving shirt? It feels like it's not breathing at all. Yeah. I'm gonna leave it at that, or not. I don't know. I don't even wanna. I already feel like I want to move. It's 86 degrees and humid. So like, yeah, I feel like I want to swim to the store instead of walk. Why? Because it's humid. It's like, be a fish now. All right, I'm just gonna watch the video and maybe say 3 words. I don't know. It's Gary's video about UK getting taxes. Let's watch it. I want to take my shirt off and yeah. See you later. Okay, I pretty much watched all of the. I've only really watched half of the video. Like, could we be about to get wealth taxes in the UK? Gary just said, he was talking about UK, but he said Western governments. I don't know if he's just talking about in the EU, if he's also including the United States, Canada. Wow. He said pretty much have 4 options. Tax the wealthy, increase the taxes on the working professionals, essentially, increase taxes on high earners, dismantle the welfare state, or increasingly borrow the government increasingly borrow more money. And he was basically saying that the UK is out, that 4th option of the government borrowing money is off the table. I think that America is pretty much in the same boat, that borrowing money is pretty much off the table for the American government. So I think America needs to go the same route that Gary is saying. And I think in America, the dismantling the welfare state is going to be even less popular because we have less of a welfare state, even though talking heads will be like, our welfare state is, they would make you think we have a gigantic welfare state and blah, blah, blah. You know, like everybody's getting welfare. Blah, 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 blah. Like, no, we don't. I mean, we have a corporate welfare state. That is true. I mean, they don't talk about that. The right wing, Fox News and media, blah, blah, they don't mention that ever. Even the left wing mainstream media they don't ever talk about corporate welfare. The most they might talk about is they might say farm subsidies and stuff like that. Which, and they might talk about farm subsidies like Nebraska farmers. It's like, okay, but what about Cargill and stuff? That's like a farming company and corporation, but it's like a $300 billion or whatever that or like whatever the tractor company is that gets all sorts of farm subsidies and stuff. So it's just like, yeah, those are the subsidies that I'm really talking about. Like, and not to mention all the indirect subsidies that car companies have gotten in the form of constant road construction. I mean, damn. Think of all the roads that have been built between 1920 and 2026. Little more than a century. All the paved roads that have been built in a century. Just cut that infrastructure. Cut that number in, let's just say 10%. And take that funding and put it to passenger rail lines. And you would probably have way more than you need for, America to have more than enough passenger rail lines. The infrastructure of passenger rail lines all throughout the country, enough such that it could be systematically, piece by piece, renovated up to modern higher speed rail. Now, parts of that would, of course, have to be kind of abandoned because it would be not usable for higher speeds because of turns and stuff like that. But that's a different conversation. Again, tangent. I gotta go outside. It's too hot in here. Ooh, I'm back and I cooled off a little bit. Well, so Gary has said a couple times now that the he talks about wealth taxes and stuff. And he's talking about um, a 2-year timeline to get them done and get them finalized and initiated. And I'm not entirely, I don't, um, I don't know. I guess maybe, at least for America, I'm just a little more ambitious for the American side. I guess also I would want to see the American stuff done a little bit more brute force than anything I've heard, because I watched this video last week. Anything I heard him and Gabriel Zuckman talk about, yeah, I would like to right off the bat start with what I call a levy. Now, I don't know, I'm not a bank and finance guy, so anybody that ever watches this, if they feel like commenting, well, you're using the wrong terminology, yeah, right here. Meaning essentially we're taking your shit right away because you've been taking our shit for 40 years. So we're getting it back right now. And balls. So you've been playing with my toys for 40 years. So, you had fun. You had all this fun for 40 years. So now we get it. Be happy that we're not taking everything you got. A levy right fucking now. Because we need to do stuff with it. We got ideas and stuff we want to fund right fucking now. All right. And we're going to do that in the next year. We're going to use this levy to fund stuff we're going to do this year. And the wealth tax, income tax, blah, blah tax is going to be every subsequent year. And again, I say this, and I'm sure rich, wealthy people are just shitting out the butt, exploding out their head, like, so, and even, everybody earning 100,000 and up is just like, you're taking my money. It's like, you guys are going to be good. No, don't worry about it. Because everybody's going to be good. Everybody's going to be fine. Don't start letting bricks come out of your butthole. And honestly, with a lot of these programs, that would be created, you know, initially, maybe unfortunately, I don't know, the rich people that already own stuff would probably be the ones that would benefit the most. It would take a few years before uh, already middle class working professionals would be able to start to realize some of the upper level benefits of these kinds of programs. But for the first year, 2, 5 years, rich people would see, I'm betting uh, month on month to quarterly profits of a lot of their companies go up. And whether it's in kind of any kind of breakdown and bracket breakdown, it would probably be, however you measure it, would probably be going up. Across the board, every fucking company. So it's like, I don't know why you would want to. It's just weird. Okay, fight against these kinds of programs when it actually helps your company. It would help domestic based companies, and it helps American companies. These are kind of the true America First principles here. Um, but now, of course, I'm not spelling anything out because I don't like Trump, and I don't want Trump to take any credit for stuff that I don't want Trump to win. I don't want Trump. I don't want Trump and the Republicans to win this November, and I don't want Trump to stay in office. So I'm not going to spell anything out. All right? And I don't want other people to get fucking credit for my shit. So I want to be as vague as I possibly can be. And on top of that, other people are saying the same shit. So, go look there. If you can't figure out what I'm talking about, then obviously you are not paying attention. Um, yeah, I just think I just think 2 years is far too conservative for America. Okay, so that's it. Tax the rich, kneecap the rich. Tax wealth, not work. Boobs, peace.